Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or join us over on the various social media pages. Apparently, we got a little bit of static on the line there, so if we can address that. Sometimes the gremlins don't work right, but in any case, we'll of course keep up it as we also have a lot of people chiming in over on our social media. Let's just launch into it here. We are, of course, on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app. That's where some of those comments are coming in over on our social media channels, Facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter @Talk El Paso, or Twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. We'll try to make some adjustments here if we continue having issues with our audio and such. Oh, that would be a part of it because...
Should be a lot better now. Let me know if that worked out for you all over on the social media, because sometimes the things don't cooperate all the time. In any case, that's a reason we mentioned all the places that we're up at, and also why we are doing what we do on Fridays, and that is getting into all of the stuff that we do. Free for All Friday is what we call it, and that means we're taking your comments, your calls, more of everything. Technical assistance appreciated, but not necessarily the focus of today, but technically within the spirit, if you want to get right down to it, because getting into all of it, kind of taking the gloves off while still remaining polite until it's time not to be kind of situation. Appreciate again the Mitch or crowdsourced tech support going on with all the things that we do here. Oh, this is going to be a good one, I'm sure, guys, because we got a lot to talk about. It's been another busy damn week, and it's definitely time for that pressure relief valve. Flaco Jimenez, appreciate the birthday wishes there. Yes, we are on the air, even though it is one of those most auspicious days here on the 13th anniversary of the 21st birthday. I do appreciate that as well. Don't worry, we're still going to be doing what we usually do. But again, if you want to get on the line, some people already jumping the gun on that one. Don't worry, we'll get to those calls as well. That number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. And we'll keep those going throughout both hours of the program here, along with the comments. And no, you're not obligated to say anything, though. I appreciate it as sincerely as it is intended. And so let's just dive right into it. A couple things I want to mention as the start of the show here. Was aware that we've had a number of statewide elected officials coming to and around the area, Glenn Stewart as well. Appreciate that greatly. A lot of elected officials aware that either yesterday or soon about, we had, including like the Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick coming through town. At least that's what I was told. You're not finding exact coverage. Everything was for a luncheon. So there's a lot of focus on the elections. And of course, we have launched into our election coverage. Again, candidates, look out for emails in your inboxes if you haven't already gotten our phone calls. I tend to prefer to do stuff by phone call. I mean, would you imagine that I like to talk? Yeah, no, that doesn't make any sense to me either. But a couple other things going on in the region I wanted to mention here, that a very strange situation happening in part of Doniphan, that it looks like, or it's hard to tell exactly what happened, but that several drivers say their tires pop while driving on Doniphan Drive in the Upper Valley last night, and TxDOT ended up coming out and dealing with part of it, saying the tires were affected by some of their construction equipment blown around by the bad weather. So I usually think about stuff falling on the road, but not quite in that way. In any case, that's just a weird circumstance. So be careful on those roads out there, folks. That situation appears to have been cleared up, but still be careful out there. In any case, let's get to those phone lines. Again, if you're calling in the middle of a segment, yeah, it might get popped off live. So just be ready for it. Otherwise, again, that number one more time, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We have a call on the line here. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
It's Ben on the east side.
Hey there, Ben. What's on your mind?
Befuddled Ben. All right.
Mhm.
I'd like to encourage everybody to listen to the documentary movie called The Greatest Reset. Not The Great Reset, The
Greatest.
Greatest
Okay.
Reset. That you can watch for free on the internet. And it is it tells the story of what happened during COVID and also what Klaus Schwab has called the fourth industrial revolution and what he means by the fourth industrial revolution. Do you know what he means by that?
I think it's something along the lines of, don't know if I've necessarily heard that specific phrase, but along the lines of what we've been seeing in terms of moving from, at least within this country, we've seen over the last decades, moving from I can't remember the exact phrase for it, but to a service economy, essentially from a production economy to, again, a service economy, meaning less people making things and more people providing specific things that still requires a human to do, whether it be, customer service, sales, tech support, those kind of things. But that has been the predominant part of the way that, well, things have been moving previously. So is it in more or less that vein?
No, this is a little bit more involved. It's called transhumanism. It's Klaus Schwab said through genetic manipulation, it doesn't change what you do, what you're doing. It changes you through genetic editing, melding the human body with artificial intelligence and robotics. When a man becomes a god, to replace the God they don't believe in. They want to create a new human, a more perfect humanity. They don't believe that we were created in the image of God, but want to create a more perfect human in the image of their creation. Through artificial intelligence, transferring to the new God, decision-making powers for everybody, which is artificial intelligence. Reordering the new society, not in the image of God, but in the image of a new humanity created by the people that are in charge of creating the new artificial intelligence, algorithms which humanity will now follow.
Interesting. So
that is what they want to do.
But
if you listen to the documentary, it will become absolutely clear about what these people are trying to do to the human race.
So
not just our society, but the whole human race.
So I am familiar with the phrase of transhumanism. That is a phrase that has been getting played around with for a while now in both fiction and in philosophy. Essentially comes along with similar phrases such as, the technological singularity, essentially that we will reach such a point of technological progress. I mean, it's a little bit ridiculous when you think about it in retrospective, between the first powered flight by man to the time that we went to the moon was in the order of magnitude of decades when compared to the technological progress of the previous millennia. It shows that things have continued to accelerate in the way that, I mean, heck, even you can see it with different, web platforms online, how fast they rise and fall based on their back-end technology and the availability, often algorithms. So it may be a little bit hard to see. So the idea of the technological pace of progression speeding up exponentially is essentially the curve that is expected at, and therefore, the emergence of things such as, AI or strong AI. And so transhumanism basically means that no longer allowing, the concept of, change over time. However, humans have been, changing their own mentalities and bodies changing over time. It's going to be seen in things like, records and just the way, genetics work. Instead, making, again, somewhat more technologically. I mean, though, like androids and cyborgs are often worked up in this, but yeah, the idea of genetic manipulation certainly plays a part into it. So it's interesting that I guess I haven't heard that used in such a phrase as that being the fourth industrial revolution.
That is what Klaus Schwab is talking about. And it is a matter of, but a long time ago, I talked about the World Economic Forum. And there was a lot of people saying, "Oh, this is not something that's really happening. That can't, nobody's going to go along with that." And everything. Well, I think you find now that a lot of people do believe in the World Economic Forum and their mission. And Klaus Schwab is not just, somebody to dismiss, or anybody in this World Economic Forum. We're just trying to change the world. But that scares me when they start talking about, replacing God and becoming God. I think, like I said, one of the things I encourage everybody, it's called The Greatest Reset. It is on the internet. You can look it up, and it's for free. It's a 2.5 hour movie, but it's probably 2.5 hours of something that is very important. Again, it talks about all the things that were involved with COVID and the shots and all the things that are going on there, and then at the end, talking about this transhumanism. Please, everybody that's listening to this, spend the 2.5 hours. It's well worth your time. And afterwards, you can donate if you want to, but you don't have to donate at all.
No, sure.
On the website.
I mean, it is an interesting concept there. I mean, particularly since the ethics involved in it. I think what you're really getting at about the concern level for, because technology, unless some catastrophe is going to happen, is going to continue progressing at rates that are probably going to, if they haven't, arguably they have already, outstripped even society's ability to respond to it. I mean, that's when things start getting real weird and finicky, is if it moves so fast that you don't even have a chance to really incorporate it or encapsulate it. I mean, think about how much, like, say, for example, the car has changed the very basis of human life as we know, at least within this country and a lot of other places. But then you take that and you start making that not as a generational change, but as, I mean, even yearly or even more than that, it starts becoming hard to consider. So that's why I've been doing a lot of reading, not necessarily recently, but in the past, on how future ethics will come along and how to deal with these things. Is not just necessarily, boardroom, blackboard exercises, but what's that going to mean? I think one of the biggest examples that can be pointed to right now of this concept would be, at least someone mentioned, Elon Musk and some ways Starlink or the Neuralink, and that's a part of it. But some of the conversations going on whenever it comes to autonomous weapons on the battlefield is not exactly a transhumanism part of it, but maybe could play a part of it. But the idea of how to deal with these ethics when technology has really outstripped our ability to, like, take a concerted look and thought process at it, as very important for the future, and why these kind of, again, there's not a better phrase I can think of than ethics war games, because it kind of comes down to it, is incredibly important and will continue to be going forward.
Yeah, and I mean, you're absolutely right, and especially when you start thinking about who's going to create the algorithms that are going to be telling people how to act and how to react.
Yeah, particularly since, at least I saw it put it in a slightly more pithy way, saying, oh, you think you're an independent learner? My dude, the YouTube video selection algorithm is half of your personality. And people may not realize how true of a statement that is. Like, sure, you can look up things, but algorithms in these day and age have been shown and geared towards showing you more of what you might like and less of what you don't like, which means, sure, it'll keep getting views from you, but getting an actual breadth and width of topic that is needed to really be able to function is literally disincentivized in that. And so that's why these conversations are important, among other things.
2.5 documentary movie called The Greatest Reset. Watch it, people. Learn what is going on in this world at this point. Right. It should scare the hell out of you. And the Let's Go Brandon society that's coming up with the Build Back Better.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they're talking about. Not what superficially we're seeing now, but what they are actually trying to do for the near future. Not in the distant future,
Oh, yeah.
but the near future.
And that's definitely one of the factors of it. It's coming sooner than we probably think here. So, we got to take that first break of the hour here right now. So thank you for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
All right. Stay safe, stay well. God bless. And let's go, Brandon.
All right. Appreciate it. You have a good one there. We're keeping it going.
Bren out.
We'll keep it going here for Free For All Friday as we do. Topics often surprise and occasionally delight, but we'll definitely keep delving into it further as we do. A lot of comments coming in. Joanne's, appreciate that as well. Eric McNabb, Glenn Stewart, Flaco Jimenez, Louis Pinato, and a whole lot more. We'll keep getting to that here, just a few of the ones coming in recently. But in any case, taking that next break now, again, if you want to get on the line, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso. You're on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 westbound at Lee Trevino, an earlier crash blocking 2 left lanes and causing a huge backup. I-10 westbound has 30-minute delays. Bumper-to-bumper traffic lining off from the Loop to the 54 Patriot. El Paso Fire is responding to an accident. Joe Battle Boulevard southbound after Vista del Sol. In the Lower Valley, another crash on 375 northbound at North Loop. Injury accident Gateway West at Loma Land on-ramp. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by News Nation. Chris Cuomo is back with a new show on a new network. Catch Cuomo weeknights on News Nation at 5 p.m. Mountain. To find News Nation on your television provider, go to newsnation.com/join us.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Northbrook Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills? Well, we now have a major medical breakthrough you are going to want to hear about. The wave technology at Northbrook Medical uses gentle pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. There are 60 clinical studies, including from Cambridge, showing our technology treats the root cause problem of ED without any pills. If you're ready to put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and regain your love life, grab your phone and call us now. You'll qualify for the assessment, the exam, even the blood flow ultrasound, if you can believe it, totally free. And to the first 10 callers now, you'll get a gift that can produce powerful and rapid results in the bedroom. You're going to love that, trust me, guys. This is a $650 value free to callers now. 915-529-9000. That's 915-529-9000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your love life back. Call Northbrook Medical Clinic now to qualify. 915-529-9000.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today. For good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Si califica para Medicare y Medicaid, El Paso Health Plus es para usted. Este plan local ofrece beneficios suplementales y mucho más. El Paso Health Plus. Llame al 833-742-3125 o visite ephmedicare.com.
Here's a message just for the attorneys out there. So you passed the bar, joined a firm, or even built your own. Now are you finding out that you're doing more administration than actual law practice? Lexicon can help. Lexicon is a legal technology provider with over a decade of experience streamlining administrative tasks like timekeeping, billing, and more, so you can focus on maximizing billable hours and increasing client satisfaction. Call 855-4-LEXICON or visit lexiconservices.com/go to learn more.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. And a whole lot of comments coming in there, including Richard Lewis, RJ, Glenn Stewart, Eric McNabb, Sean Gardner, Juan's, who else we got there? A few others in the comments. Looping out if I didn't already say that one. Edgar Ortiz, James Holmes, Ida Beza Gardner, and a whole lot more. Drop those likes and reacts. We do appreciate it if you're on that platform anyway. Ted Kors, Monica Cervantes, Sean Gardner, Flaco Jimenez, and James Holmes and Ida Beza Gardner. Do appreciate it. And interesting comments about that here, including a Richard Lewis saying the first caller had interesting take, but to me washed down the drain by concluding let's go Brandon. Loss of all cred for me. The concept of rapid technology is Moore's law. I do believe if I'm talking about the right one there, that was, unless I'm switching up my technological concepts, that essentially processors would get twice as fast about every 18 months, which last I checked was kind of starting to break down as we start reaching like nanometer limits on the ability to print. But who knows, nanotechnology itself, which is another set of issues coming up, because if you haven't heard the term nano waste or nano contamination, yeah, that's a thing coming. Anyway, that's why the whole concept, this is why I love Fridays, I got to be honest with you, because I am never quite sure what the hell is going to come up. I have some ideas and some concepts I'm ready to talk about. Don't worry, we'll always have something for you all on Friday, even if like the phone line is down, which it isn't. That number again to call, 915-544-5876-544-KTSM. But let me just say, I never really expected to have reason to say phrases such as technological singularity and transhumanism on this program, but hey, that's kind of what we do on Fridays. And sorry to burst your bubble there, RJ, who is calling for El Paso History Rerun, hungover issues, brought bets taken after the show here. This is going to be another one of our pre-recorded episodes for tomorrow, so it's already in the can. So not to dissuade you, but let's just say I want to claim half the action here that the show will go on. In any case, more calls, more comments, more of everything we're doing during the program, including John Gardner saying in the future, the 1984 film The Terminator will be seen as a predictive documentary, much like what's my favorite example? Oh yeah, Idiocracy, the movie that's slowly becoming a documentary. Exactly. And I mean, whether you agree with the concepts or not we're discussing, certainly encourage your participation in the discussion, with some disagreeing, such as Eric McNabb not liking that part of the discussion. But RJ also saying what Ben is trying to say is wake up, there's Folgers in your cup. Studying issues, even if you disagree with them, I'm weird in this way. I often seek out viewpoints that I would otherwise disagree with to learn more of the finer points within them. But again, yeah, I know that makes me weird and not going to expect that of everyone, but I find it useful, and not even just in this line of work either. In any case, back to those phone lines. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876-544-KTSM. We do have Andrew on the west side here with us right now. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, thank you very much. And right out of the box, comes as no surprise that right before the midterm elections, President Biden gives pardons to something like 6,500 convicted individuals for minor possession of marijuana.
Yes, that came up. We didn't really talk about that yesterday, I'll admit. It came up at least in a comment, but yeah, on that order. And I mean, that has been a conversation going on for a while, though it's been more, I guess, if it was actually like a goal being pursued legislatively anyway, it would be more about like mass either pardons or amnesty, though I guess pardons not exactly, but like removal of charges, particularly as a lot of states end up pursuing, marijuana legalization, such as New Mexico, the idea of some being able to just keep on doing it, but others still held in jail for what is now illegal. I mean, there is a conversation to be had there. So this being done that way, I guess could be seen the way you're talking about it, or potentially as a kind of a mission statement for the next term, or at least the next session of Congress coming out of it, to aggressively pursue marijuana legalization. Though, given the scope and scale of it being in the thousands as opposed to the tens, if not hundreds of thousands, that is probably closer to the true scope of those either currently incarcerated or potentially still facing probation, other consequences from it. Doesn't quite reach that level, so it makes me wonder if it's more on the order of like the whole student loan forgiveness thing, where sure, we're going to do it. Oh, we weren't quite able to do it, so you better vote for us next time kind of mentality. I'm not taking bets on it, but I have certain expectations.
Well, anyway, yes, I agree with you on that. And some time ago, the county of El Paso, in its judicial process with the probation department, instituted a process which is judicial clemency. And I don't know if they're still doing it, but basically, you complete your probation and let's say you've had a conviction, not a deferred, but a conviction.
Okay.
Then you, under certain circumstances, your conviction was your sentence was dismissed.
Interesting, because I was aware of some movement going on within El Paso County on a variety of different charges, such as, the changing of, the pretrial diversion office, things like that. But actually, and of course, what the city has done, which is largely decriminalizing marijuana, low-level marijuana possession. It's still illegal, but it's like a traffic ticket as opposed to an arrestable offense for that, like, I don't remember the exact number, but somewhere around like the 2 to 4 ounce possession amount, which is, to my knowledge and understanding, still quite a lot of pot, but not necessarily a like mass dealer amount. I mean, that's been an ongoing debate and discussion, obviously. So it's interesting to know that the county is doing some of that as well then.
Well, yes, not all charges qualified, and there were certain stipulations that you had to meet. There, certain things that you had to meet. But there is a procedure for it under 42A of the Code of Criminal Procedure, Texas Code of Criminal Procedure. That is one of the things that I wanted to discuss was. I hope the Biden administration, or rather DOJ and BOP, with Bureau of Prisons, I hope that they've done research on these cases before they went to pardon them. And also, you imagine the amount of money that this is costing taxpayers?
Yeah, it would a bit, though I will say that some of the costs of taxpayers in this way, particularly with the jail system the way it is, not necessarily locally here, as we still have a primarily governmentally run jail system, at least in El Paso and other places where it isn't. I just got to say that what comes to mind here, not strictly germane to what you're talking about, but the whole, for-profit prisons and them contractually obligated to have minimum prisoner amounts. Yeah, if that would undermine that a little bit, I guess I'd be fine with that aspect of it. But I get your larger point about there being concerns about review and getting any closer to blanket pardons, I guess, is kind of what you're concerned about there.
Correct. One other thing before I cut off, was going to ask you: do you know if we are actually on defense condition 3 right now?
Referring to I will submit I've heard rumors to that. I mean, referring to I think what people would more commonly know as the DEFCON system, right?
Correct. Last time we were anywhere near that was 9/11.
Yeah, and that would be about it. I know there's a hell of a lot of speculation that goes around on this, and I follow a few different places that claim to know technically the status of this. I do believe that is kind of a, if not technically classified, definitely like a need to know and not publicly released information here. A bunch of the stuff I follow, including Twitter accounts on this, say that we are at it. At the very least, we're not at DEFCON 5, which would be low level and, less ish concerns, not like no concern, because there's always a level of concern. But so to my knowledge of the things that I follow, I'm going to go with a yes, but do not take my word as gospel on that point.
Understood. Well, who knows the condition? And besides that, just out of just for chuckles, today is Putin's birthday.
Duh. So it is. Oh, that's I didn't need to know that, but thanks anyway.
Not that I'm celebrating it. I'm sure he's having plenty of vodka today. But anyway, take care. And I turn the mic back over to you.
Appreciate it. Well, good to know someone else I share a birthday with, I guess. I know Yo-Yo Ma was on the list, but I guess better bad company than no company at all. I'm not sure if that applies in this case. In any case, more comments coming in over on the social media, including one comment that we'll get to here from Edgar Ortiz, but got to take that next break right now. So again, if you want to get on the line, the number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso, Free for All Friday. Got that on deck and continuing it throughout the rest of the hour, both hours, here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
With your CBS 4 News Update, I'm Amanda Guillen. Several drivers are in the middle of a frustrating situation this morning. They say their cars were damaged and their tires popped after driving near construction on Donovan Road in the Upper Valley. Turns out there appeared to be a whole lot of rebar sticking out of the road and not a lot of signage or warning to go with it. Drivers say there were barrels and cones, but they appeared to be knocked over. CBS 4 on your side reached out to TxDOT last night about the damage and what drivers say was a lack of signage, cones, and barriers near the construction site. We'll keep you posted when we get a response. Now, for the latest news, weather, and sports updates, make sure to visit our website live at any time, cbs4local.com. With your CBS 4 News Update, I'm Amanda Guillen.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Delays on the I-10 westbound this afternoon after a crash at Lee Trevino near the on-ramp. One left lane now is blocked. 30-minute delays from the loop to the 54 Patriot on the 10 westbound. Gateway North at Sun Valley Drive, multi-vehicle accidents blocking the turnaround lane. And an injury accident, Joe Battle Boulevard, southbound after Vista del Sol at Eschkenbrenner Avenue. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the CBS 4 Warm Weather Center, I'm forecaster Vania Castillo. We are in for another rainy day here in the borderland. We are looking at a 40% chance for rain here in El Paso, 70% chance in Las Cruces. We're also looking at a high of about 73 degrees in El Paso, 71 in Las Cruces. We are going to continue to be seeing these cooler temperatures sticking around throughout the weekend, as well as that rain. Of course, we are going to be keeping a track on that. We are expecting to see that rain returning in the afternoon hours.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Staples Print and Marketing Services help small businesses create bold signs to make big impressions. Right now, get $10 off custom printed signs, banners, and posters when you spend $50 or more. Offer ends 12/31. Visit staples.com/thisisyoursign for details. This is your sign to print big at Staples.
Help the planet with a tip from iHeartRadio Earth. Education doesn't just take place in the classroom. There are many ways for children of all ages to learn about sustainability and environmental education at home. Visit iHeartRadio.com/Earth for a list of resources, activity guides, and toolkits that are educational and fun for the whole family. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Being aware of the world around you is important.
When it comes to news, yes, I am.
So we're feeding your need to know 24/7 at the top and bottom of the hour.
I like to know what's going on in my locality, abroad.
Events of the world.
Fairly so. Yeah, I'm pretty connected.
Or down the street.
For the most part, I know what's going on.
You know, I need to be aware and what to look out for, and I'm real cautious, so yeah, I need to have that.
It's what we do. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Get ready for the smartest bundle in streaming. 6 streaming services for the intellectually curious, featuring Curiosity Stream with the best collection of documentary films and TV shows, Psalm TV, and great stories from the world of wine, Tastemade for the fun side of food and travel, Topic with the best thrillers and crime stories, and so much more. From nature to history, technology to food, mystery to adventure. Get 6 streaming services for one low price at less than $6 a month. It's the best deal in streaming. Learn more and sign up now at smartbundle.com.
Getting a news feed on your phone while driving
makes driving more difficult. This is dangerous.
Getting a news feed without a computer or mobile device?
It would be impossible.
Unless, of course, you get your live news feeds at the top and bottom of the hour.
It's easy.
Traffic and weather all day.
It's as simple as that.
Trending stories tend to change.
Every minute of every day.
Twice an hour, we'll feed your curiosity.
Stay informed. Shouldn't we listen? They're hungry.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Talk El Paso, bringing you the biggest stories from the borderland and beyond, 4 to 6 p.m. every weekday, brought to you in part by Sergio Lewis Body Shop. Call the pros at 915-593-0191. That's Talk El Paso, Monday through Friday at 4, right here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Recently, we hit the streets and found out how informed people really are.
Yes, I'm on top of events.
Most news, yes.
Except for these two.
I am not on top of events.
I'm not on top of my events, no.
They were clueless that every morning they can plug into the world with the news, weather, and traffic info that'll make their lives so much easier and more informed. Just like you and I do. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Chris Cuomo is back with a new show on a new network. Catch Cuomo weeknights on News Nation at 5 p.m. Mountain. To find News Nation on your television provider, go to newsnation.com/join us. This report is sponsored by News Nation.
Weather and traffic info. You need it? We have it. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed. News Radio 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. We're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of comments coming in over on those, and we'll keep it going there, and including some declaring at 4:20 time. Well, I guess it was a little bit earlier, but if that's what it takes to listen to this show, I really don't know how to feel about that, but we're going to keep it going anyway. And a whole lot more comments coming in, including from Austin Redfern, Louis Pinato, Ion Grimm, Sean Gardner, RJ, Eric McNabb, Tim Collins, Richard Janasik, Ida Beza Gardner, if I didn't say that already, Edgar Ortiz. And that's one comment I mentioned that I wanted to get to here. Edgar saying, I'm surprised the struggles of the El Paso DA haven't made national news with the attention of the Walmart shooting and it being the highest profile cases here. I'm afraid it may be at risk of proper litigation. I think that's at least a little bit of an undercurrent. And I've seen certain things pop up, but not necessarily making like big headlines. If some more of these cases that we've got pursuing forward, and no, not referring to the August 3rd case, but either the removal or some of these other kind of related ones do move forward, well, that may, I know, make local, we'll talk about it. I know that much. Can't really claim much knowledge or influence on what the heck national news is going to report on, but yeah, we'll definitely talk about it here. Some other comments coming in including RJ expecting that I'm going to have quite the hangover, Astoli and Borscht night. Now that's a hangover. Sean Gardner answering some of those questions about came up from the last caller, saying currently U.S. is DEFCON 3 and Europe is at DEFCON 2. This have been the levels for many months now, pretty much since the Russia-Ukraine war started. That sounds about right, but well, whether we'll actually know about it. I mean, there have been I would call them jokes, but gallows humor would be better about it, such as people showing themselves, taking a long drink out of a bottle, brown bottle, on their porch as saying how I'm relaxing while watching all of the U.S. and Russian jets drop off flight tracker in the middle of the night. Anyway, some more comments coming in, including Austin Redfern, saying about marijuana being legalized in New Mexico doesn't mean an employer can't fire the employee if the employee fails a drug test. That is a finer point. It is still federally illegal. So, I mean, mess around and find out kind of logic applies here. I do feel like never felt the particular compunction myself to imbibe. But some of the other comments that were coming up here, including about I've lost it in the million. We got a lot of comments that come in on Friday. If that was by any means unclear, at least one idea about it not being legalized in Texas. I truly think that if it's going to be a state by state level, that Texas would probably be the last, if it ever would, pass it on its own. But again, with the possibility of this, maybe in what we're talking about there with the pardons for some in simple marijuana possession cases, those that are either still facing legal consequences or incarcerated, if that is a signal that will be a priority for the next session of Congress, or rather just kind of a carrot, whether or not it's actually attached to the stick or not, I have no idea. For you better keep electing us if you like what we're doing kind of reasoning that you can read into, unfortunately, too many things whenever it comes to federal policies. But the point is that if that were to happen, if it were to be national legalization, I don't think Texas would necessarily say, nope, still illegal in the state or anything like that. Though I guess there's the possibility of there being dry, so to speak, or smokeless. Would that be the phrase? Counties in Texas? I have no idea, but hey, we'll see what happens when that comes to it. Anyway, let's go back to those phone lines again. The number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have Jerry on the northwest side of town here right now with us. Jerry, thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you, Andrew, for taking my call. Comment on that marijuana thing and the pardoning of that. A lot of those people that got busted, and they were busted for dealing marijuana, and then they took a plea deal to just possession and use of it. So there's a problem in there, because now you're you're allowing people that were transporters and dealers of marijuana to be pardoned out of the system.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, I'll say I'll share a similar kind of issue with that, because it's one thing for someone to get caught up personal use. I mean, as much as there are still probably issues involved with it, it's another for someone that was literally and actively involved in criminal enterprise around it. Now, of course, there's an argument to be made that, well, they're now doing also the same thing that is now legal, or state legal, again, being specific here, within the states that have legalized it, that we have other people driving around in like armored cars doing. And yet that I will agree with you, it doesn't quite sit right with me for that level of offense to be included in this effort.
Right. And it's a political tactic to get votes.
Oh, well, yeah,
now,
obviously.
Because it can be challenged in court. And since it is still a federal law, right, not to own or possess or use.
Right.
He is basically skirting the law. He's not changing the law.
Correct.
He's just pardoning people that were busted underneath the eyes of the law.
I mean, that is true. And I mean, it is the right of a president to do pardons, but I will say this is a little bit different than it usually is. Even if there are a lot of questions that come up whenever it happens at the end of a particular president's term of office, the flurry that tend to happen there, as happens every time, this does hit a little bit different even from that, I'll say.
Yeah. Well, now on to this threat that we're having basically because of nuclear war. It would be nice if they would let the people out here, the citizens, know what's going on, because that way we can prepare. Now we always say prepare, right?
Yeah.
Even they even have commercials where FEMA says you need to prepare and you need to have these things in your house. Well,
yep.
If we're so close to nuclear war that we have to say that they're going to buy a bunch of new drugs to issue out to everybody in preparation, or in case it does happen, it would be nice to know maybe I can head to the hills before the actual bomb hits my neighborhood. You know?
I get what you're saying there. I'm not sure if there's still kind of like calculations about 8 minutes. I know that was essentially the plot of a couple of movies in like the 70s and 80s. Like, you got 8 minutes once the balloon goes up before the bombs start hitting, kind of thing. I'm not even sure if that kind of logic still applies given nuclear submarines and all of that. And I think what you're talking about when you're referring to medicine there, are you talking about like the iodine tablets that I've heard of been issued in like Kharkiv and Kiev within Ukraine itself, but haven't heard of anything domestically going on with that?
No, but it's a new drug besides the iodine.
Okay.
It's something that they're supposed to keep frozen until they're actually going to use it. And I don't know the exact name of it, but anyway, if we're that close to it, because they do have supersonic missiles now, they claim Russia does.
Oh, sure.
So 8 minutes. 8 minutes might be down to 4 minutes now.
Okay.
So that's just another thing. Can you explain to me with the DA's deal? Because the way the news people are explaining it on the TV, it's so convoluted, it's hard to follow. Can you explain to me what happened with an individual that was basically she was murdered at the Walmart, and then the family is involved with a cell phone or something like that, and then there's a judge involved from Vinton. This sounds more like there's an internal struggle within law enforcement and the judgeship of the county.
I don't think the county judge is involved here, but judges within the county. Yes, yes, I can explain it. No, I'm not sure I'm going to make it any less convoluted because it kind of inherently is. So let me try to at least do it timeline based. So there was an email sent out to a variety of El Paso news and media outlets. I received it myself and kind of read it and was like, that seems like the crazy you get in a kind of bag of cats situation. So I just didn't even touch it. It was essentially complaining about an interview that had been done on another local outlet with a former attorney with the district attorney's office, and claiming this email claimed to be from a family member of one of the victims of August 3rd, and saying that how dare she talk about this and those kind of things. It's been posted around. You can even find part of it from our news partners there at KFOX 14.
Stop right there.
Sure.
Who's talking about it? Okay, who's the one that said how? Okay, the family member said, "How dare you talk about it?" Who's the one that talked to the family member?
So the family member sent out the email kind of unprompted on their own here. And again, our news partners at KFOX 14 actually do have the text of that posted up right now. It reads in part, in response to the statements made by Amanda Enriquez in the news articles of August 3rd and August 4th, 2022, my family and I would like the media and community to know she is using this case for political purposes. How dare she, in all caps, that second phrase there. That's kind of the start of it.
Who is Enriquez? Where does she work? What is her title? Is she with the DA's office?
In short, no, she is not. She was previously and is no longer with the DA's office, part of the kind of exodus that happened towards the start of that term. And the email itself that I'm quoting from here was labeled as being from Alexander Hoffman Valdez. So that's kind of the start of this recent saga.
Okay, and is she the one that was making the threats with the snipers and all that?
No, it was again. It was a story involving. I think that essentially Amanda Enriquez was a commenter on, was asked to contribute to part of the story here, and then so this email came out. I've heard talk about what you're mentioning there, but I'm not sure it has a place in exactly this part of it. So just let me keep laying it out here, because I'm sure if you're confused, there are other people that are confused about what the hell is actually going on with this as well. There was actually a series of emails that went out in this whole way, because there was some local reporting on this email, but pretty immediately it came up of we're not sure who actually sent this email, because it's claiming to be from that person, again, the Alexander Hoffman Valdez, but didn't come from that person's email address and came from someone else that may or may not have actually been involved with the family. To fast forward a little bit to get past some of the complexities, there was a local attorney, and ironically enough, previous guest on the show here of Justin B. Underwood, assigned as essentially attorney on behalf of the family without necessarily being hired by the family, done by Judge Sam Medrano in the court in which the August 3rd case is being pursued at the state level. And that's some of the filings that have come out this week that include and indeed allege that there was some essentially impropriety of those, not necessarily within, but associated with the district attorney's office.
So they didn't actually work for the DA, but they may have been hired on at certain times.
Or were working in coordination. That's what some of the filings essentially allege. So this is why I'm saying I can kind of explain it, but it is convoluted at its very base level, including accusations back and forth. So that's why when it came up with the previous comment about the district attorney's office, that this may not be making national news yet, but I think at a certain point it could potentially.
Yeah, it sounds definitely like Yolanda is going to mess this up so bad that the murderer, and I don't call him a shooter, because shooters are people that are at the range and they shoot targets. They don't shoot people. The murderer may get off because of a technicality.
I will say that I've been having that kind of concern ever since the start, which is one of the reasons that whenever we talk about it on this show, that we refer to the indicted suspect, because that is indeed what he is in this case, and that is the correct legal term. So, I mean, I'm not trying to correct you or anything, just saying that whenever we refer to it, that's what we will say. But I think that is really kind of one of the core issues that comes down to concern at this point about what does all of this kerfuffle surrounding a case, what is that going to have to do on the case itself? And why all of these kind of swirling stories involving the DA's office, I think that pretty much for most people, I think would be fair to say that are aware of it anyway, that would be pretty much a core concern.
Yes. And just for the people out there that call us NRA members killers and we don't care, we're heartless, I want to see this individual brought to justice fairly. I want to see him put on trial. And I want to see justice served for the families.
No, absolutely agree with you on that point there. So thank you very much for the point in the call. Sir. You have a good one.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
All right. I think we managed to talk straight through the length of the next segment, so I think we're going to have a slightly longer break than usual and come back at the top of the hour here. So if you're on the line, stay there. If you want to get on the line, the number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break and the top of the hour news here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Back in a minute.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
The backup's getting a lot better on I-10 westbound from the Loop to the 54 Patriot. Now just 10-minute delays. Maybe North Loop Drive might be an alternate for you. A crash I-10 westbound at Lee Trevino is blocking one left lane as they're trying to clear that accident. Gateway North at Sun Valley Drive, turnaround lane there's blocked from a multi-vehicle crash. In an injury accident, Joe Battle southbound after Vista del Sol at Eschenbrenner. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Recycle your old technology free during Staples Free Tech Take Back. Items like old modems, mice, and mobile phones or cables, calculators, and camcorders. Staples Rewards members get $5 back in rewards. Exclusions apply. Limit 1 reward per month. Visit staples.com/recycling. Recycle at Staples.
A veces la vida toma decisiones por nosotros, así que tenemos que aprovechar las decisiones que sí podemos tomar. Las inscripciones anuales comienzan el 15 de octubre y El Paso Health Plus es su opción local si está cubierto por Medicare y Medicaid. Nuestro plan local ofrece beneficios suplementales como dental, transporte a citas médicas, productos de venta libre, visión y mucho más. El Paso Health Plus también tiene programas diseñados para ayudarle a mantener una vida sana. Así que si está cubierto por Medicare y Medicaid, El Paso Health Plus es la cobertura para usted. Ahora es el momento para inscribirse en un plan local de Medicare Advantage manejado por personas locales que viven y trabajan en El Paso. Inscríbase ahora en El Paso Health Plus si está cubierto por Medicare y Medicaid. Llámenos al 833-742-3125 o visite ephmedicare.com. El Paso Health Plus, su opción local para Medicare y Medicaid.
Any first responder will tell you never try to beat a train. After braking, it can take a mile for a train to completely stop. A mile. That's also how far a car can be dragged when a train hits it. So when you come to a rail crossing, stop. Because trains can't. Paid for by NHTSA.
Chris Cuomo is back with a new show on a new network. Catch Cuomo weeknights on News Nation at 5 p.m. Mountain. To find News Nation on your television provider, go to newsnationnow.com/join us.
Joe Biden's inflation is crushing Americans. Higher costs for gasoline, painful prices at the grocery store. Just about everything costs us more. And just like Biden, Beto O'Rourke supports higher taxes that would crush Texans even more. What does Governor Abbott say?
In Texas, we are fighting back, cutting property taxes to help homeowners, producing more energy to lower gas prices. And we passed a constitutional amendment to ban an income tax in Texas.
This election, you have a choice. With Beto O'Rourke, it's higher taxes, higher prices, and an economy that's being crushed. With Greg Abbott, it's lower taxes, lower prices, and an economy that's booming.
If you're tired of getting crushed by Biden's inflation, join us and keep Texas strong.
Greg Abbott for governor.
Political ad paid for by Texans for Greg Abbott.
The most current and comprehensive. Just minutes away at the top and bottom of the hour. And always online at KTSMradio.com.
If you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my friends.
For my community.
For everyone here. We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies us. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day.
I don't watch television, so I get all my news from you.
News Radio 690. KTSM. News on the hour and a half. traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The confirmed Florida death toll from Hurricane Ian stands at 92. According to the Florida Medical Examiners Commission, 50 of the deaths occurred in Lee County, where Ian made landfall as a powerful Category 4 storm last week. Wall Street is posting a winning week despite 2 straight days of losses. Stocks fell sharply as investors weighed September's job report. The figures showed the labor market remained strong, raising expectations of more aggressive interest rate hikes by the Federal Reserve. South Texas Republicans are furious. The vice president is coming to the state this weekend, but not to ground zero for illegal immigration. Congresswoman Mayra Flores says the administration needs to visit the border.
We're asking the Biden administration to come to South Texas, to come and see what his policies have done.
Vice President Harris will be in Austin on Saturday to headline a Democratic Party fundraiser. She will then join a pro-choice group for a moderated discussion on reproductive rights. There are more disruptions happening in the Darrell Brooks Jr. murder trial in Wisconsin. He's accused of killing 6 people at a Christmas parade last year. Today, Brooks initially refused to reveal his coronavirus test results to the courtroom, leading to a minor altercation between he and sheriff's deputies in the room. Georgia's Republican lieutenant governor is ripping his party when it comes to Senate candidate Herschel Walker. Lisa Taylor has more.
In a CNN opinion piece, Jeff Duncan called Walker an untested and unproven first-time candidate. The charge comes as Walker has denied an allegation that he paid for an ex-girlfriend to get an abortion. Duncan went on to say Republicans should nominate candidates the public will take seriously.
1 million Facebook users' login information may have been compromised. That's according to Meta. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. 3 people are hurt following stabbings and other incidents at New York City subway stations in a matter of hours. Jennifer Pulsoni reports.
Police say attacks occurred Thursday afternoon and evening, including one where a 38-year-old man was randomly stabbed in the back and chest getting off a number 4 train in the Morris Heights section of the Bronx. He's expected to survive. His attacker is still at large. Riders on edge.
It's really crazy. These things keep happening all the time. It's really not safe.
Earlier Thursday, another man was stabbed during an argument on a subway platform in Harlem. An hour later, a couple had a knife pulled on them at the same station. A 45-year-old man also slashed at a station in Cypress Hills, with the suspect fleeing and still on the run.
Business leaders are urging Congress to pass a permanent solution to the embattled DACA program, which shields young migrants from deportation. Glenn Hammer heads the Texas Association of Business, and he says employers need all the workers they can get. A federal appeals court ruled this week DACA was illegally implemented by the Obama administration. The suspect in the killing of a University of Arizona professor has a troubled past, including during his time spent in California. Eddie McCoven has more.
Dolgan Dervish, the father of 46-year-old Murad Dervish, lives in South Carolina and tells KGTV that several years ago his son damaged equipment in his restaurant and then assaulted him. After that incident, Dervish moved to San Diego to live with his mother and enrolled at San Diego State University. In 2020, a woman filed a restraining order against him, saying he harassed and stalked her while he was a teaching assistant. Dervish also apparently tried to kill his mother during his time there as well. I'm Eddie McCoven.
General Motors will be developing an electric battery pack for testing by the U.S. military. GM Defense will be using the company's Ultium battery platform to meet the requirements being put in place by the Pentagon's Defense Innovation Unit. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
The can't miss music event of the year is coming to the CW.
The 2022 iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Featuring once-in-a-lifetime performances from the biggest superstars in all of music.
Ladies and gentlemen, what's up, Vegas? Make some noise. I don't know if y'all ready for this.
All hosted by Ryan Seacrest from T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas.
Don't miss our 2022 iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Tonight and tomorrow night at 7 on the CW.
This report is sponsored by Staples Stores. Recycle your old technology free during Staples Free Tech Take Back. Items like old modems, mice, and mobile phones, or cables, calculators, and camcorders. Staples Rewards members get $5 back in rewards. Exclusions apply. Limit 1 reward per month. Visit staples.com/recycling. Recycle at Staples.
New
New on Curiosity Stream. The first rule of espionage, don't get caught.
It's a bullet to the back of the head.
Was he a Russian spy or our spy in Russia? The nuances of the spy game are revealed on Traitor Patriot. And after France's defeat at Dunkirk, Britain raced to defend itself against the Nazi onslaught. Discover the structures used to transform England into an island fortress on the buildings that fought Hitler. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit Curiosity Stream.
Have you thought about getting dental implants? Has someone told you that dental implants cost $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 per tooth? Please do not pay that much money. Instead, go to 1995implants.com, the El Paso dental office where beautiful, top-quality, long-lasting dental implants are as low as $1,995 per tooth, including the implant, abutment, and crown. Plus, we offer a free consultation with the dentist, free standard x-rays, and convenient financing plans to fit your budget. At 1995implants.com, dental implants are very affordable. So, get rid of your cracked teeth, missing teeth, and loose, old, wobbly dentures and get the amazing new smile that you've been wanting. 1995implants.com is conveniently located right here in El Paso. For more information, please see our website, 1995implants.com. That's 1995implants.com. Se habla español.
Tired of the news about how everything is costing more?
Everything is stubbornly high.
Us too. That's why we made the iHeartRadio app absolutely free. When you download the free iHeartRadio app, you have the radio stations you love at your fingertips whenever you want, wherever you want, along with millions of podcasts from the news you crave to the true crime series you can't resist. Playlists to fit any mood or activity. And here's the part you don't want to miss. It's all free. Download the free iHeartRadio app and discover music, radio, and podcasts you'll love.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. We mentioned all of those because, hey, we have people, all of them these days, and that's a good thing. Whatever works best for you is the right place to be. And also, if you need backups, keep in mind, you don't have to know them all, but if you're needing those backup situations, it's a good thing to keep handy, but also it's just to make it the most accessible to you all and to continue and really focus on our mission to have live local talk radio here in the borderland. So, a lot of issues that we're talking about here today. A lot of comments coming in, including Louis Pinato, Ion Graham, RJ, Monica Cervantes, Edgar Ortiz, Eric McNabb, Austin Redfern. Louis Pinato, I did say that already. Sean Gardner, more dropping those likes and reacts. Simplest way to put this, at least the one that I have available to me. Flaco Jimenez, Richard Janasic, Carlos Sierra, Tim Collins, James Holmes, Ion Graham, Edmundo Carlos, Ted Kors, Monica Cervantes, Sean Gardner, and Ida Beza Gardner. Do appreciate those, as it helps with the algorithmic things and all the things that we try to do in our mission to have live local talk radio here in the borderland. RJ with an interesting comment on that, saying that Hudspeth dismissed 400 cases that they haven't had an in-person case in 2 years, connecting that to the district attorney there, saying Rosales and your tax dollars at work. Part of the conversation, definitely have the local issues going on, but Friday means that, well, A, we can certainly talk about those, but also we open up and kind of open up the floodgates. Again, I'm rarely not surprised on a Friday because we take on all the comments, all the calls. Just keep it clean if you're calling in. Don't want to have to dump you. In any case, phone number to call, full up at the moment, but if you want to squeeze in, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Let's get back into the calls here now. We do have Eric on the east side here with us right now. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Hello there. Yes, my name is Eric McNabb from the east side. I just, the last caller, he was mincing words and still covering up what Patrick Crusius was. Right-wing media and right-wing people do this all the time. Like, Patrick Crusius was a right-wing terrorist. He believed that Democrats want the borders open to decrease the white population so that Republicans never win federal office. That was his stated intent. He was a right-wing terrorist, and we shouldn't be mincing words about calling him a shooter or a murderer, because if you really cared about the prosecution of him, you would be opposing, or not you, but the caller would be opposing right-wing media's insistence on using these white supremacist buzzwords like open border. When you say open borders, you're saying that Democrats want brown people to come into the country to reduce the white population so that Republicans don't win, even though Hispanics don't even vote reliably for Democrats. And a lot of these asylum seekers are coming from Venezuela, fleeing a socialist regime. But it's so important to understand that right-wing media and Greg Abbott are still pushing these white supremacist narratives that brought a right-wing terrorist to El Paso to target brown human beings to deter them from coming here to make sure Republicans win. But right-wing media needs to stop mincing words and with this political correctness, trying to do damage control for their narrative pushing and white supremacist narratives that they campaign on. Right-wing media and Republicans, they always push this anti-immigrant rhetoric that dehumanizes these brown lives, like that right-wing brother that shot that immigrant who was just getting water.
Okay, a lot to break down on what you've just said there already. Trying to connect Greg Abbott to the August 3rd situation, and particularly, as you're referring to there, to the indicted suspect in this case. I'm not going to be following you down that primrose path, because again, I put no blame except for on the person himself for the actions that taken. Now, that being said, that rhetoric that is used does need to be done so carefully, because if you just have a goal in mind and the ends justify the means, you can say whatever the hell you want to. But in the meantime, there's a whole lot of damage that can be done by normalizing certain things, making it seem okay. It's a reason whenever we talk about the whole open borders concept and situation, I bristle at that a little bit myself, because that pretty much just delegitimizes any efforts being done by the agents on the ground with Border Patrol, CBP, ICE, etc., all those federal agencies. We don't like them for one reason or another, that's fine, but by saying that they aren't doing any efforts, truly open borders is a thing where it is coming to that there is no border enforcement. So that's why I don't find that to be a useful phrase or one to get into, but I understand the rhetorical use people end up using it that they see with issues in the policies that we have. I mean, something that has been literally spilling onto El Paso streets, the overwhelming of local resources has been significant in the last few weeks. But again, connecting Greg Abbott, the August 3rd shooter, I'm going to reject that as just as much as I do whenever it comes to talking about the previous president. But very specifically to get into the idea of, I mean, again, there's just too much even to get into there. But I mean, really, when it comes down to it, you're talking not even just about the idea of voters, though that is one of the things brought up here, but essentially replacement theory, which definitely has white supremacist roots. But really, that's been one thing that's been kind of bothering me about this discussion for a while now, saying that anyone that agrees with an idea agrees with all of the maybe necessary logical underpinnings of it, that an idea of the formation of it, even if they are not even aware of it, means that they are complicit with it, and that just doesn't quite work. I mean, technically, if you want to boil it down to it, there is a logical underpinning, or at least a political one, that comes from the idea of lower taxes as being, I mean, there have been people on record, people who have written books about how that was essentially not exactly a code word, but a progression of logic from the idea of not wanting minorities to have services. Now, does that mean that everyone who wants lower taxes has signed on with that? Absolutely not, because a whole lot of people end up just looking at their pocketbooks and saying, okay, these prices are getting higher, or if they're worried about being priced out of their houses, which, yes, is absolutely a factor that can happen whenever you talk about maybe not any individual tax increase, but an aggregate, particularly with all of our local taxing entities. So to say that all the people are saying, well, I want to lower my taxes, are signing on with a white supremacist ideology, that just does not hold water, because people can have their own individual motivations, even if there may have been even an original positing of the idea that there was nefarious intention behind it. Does not mean that everyone who thinks about it or agrees with the conclusion agrees with all the logic coming along with it and beforehand.
Okay, I just wanted to reiterate, when you're saying that the borders are open, you're promoting the narrative that Democrats want brown people to come into the country so that Republicans don't win office. That's white supremacist narratives that demonize brown Hispanics, both American and non-American. It increases racism against brown people. It's very overt white supremacy, and right-wing people need to stop living in denial. Very mainstream Republicans are pushing it with terms like open borders to push. It's an unintended consequence. They don't intend to promote racism against brown people, but in their attempt to increase support for their immigration policies, they're very overtly dehumanizing and demonizing brown people, immigrants, asylum seekers, Americans, everyone. It's increasing racism and animosity towards brown people and causing right-wing terrorism like the Buffalo shooting, the El Paso shooting, and there are numerous racially motivated, attacks that are being supported by mainstream Republicans and mainstream right-wing media.
Let's just say I don't have a lot of time for anyone that is giving a wink and a nod to saying, oh, these things were awful, but mostly because they got caught. No, I don't have any time for those kind of individuals. And as I said before, those in positions of power, influence, platforms, having them ability to amplify certain thoughts and ideas on them do have to be careful with what they do with it. Because sure, I'm fully a proponent of freedom of speech. Anyone who's unclear on that idea from my point, feel free to message me, because it's kind of what we do here. And that's why we do, particularly on Friday here, getting into all of these ideas. But that does not mean that, again, even so anyone who brings up open borders automatically being signed on with white supremacy or saying that they don't like open borders, I feel like that is, again, an example of taking essentially the core idea, the very basis thought that, that you like the idea of border security, as signing on with anyone who ever came up with the idea of, and because I don't like immigration. Those are two disconnected ideas that you're trying to connect here. And I'm not even saying that there are those that aren't explicitly trying to do that, but that therefore, by saying everyone who says they are opposed to open borders and those kind of things, that's a position I would find myself being in favor of, not having open borders, because that would be I just don't think that would be a viable way for us to exist in this country at this point in time. I also don't believe we currently have open borders, but I also find myself firmly and unequivocally against white supremacy. The idea that anyone's racial nature makes them inherently superior to anyone else is, you pull out your, cranial mapping measures and do that kind of thing. But I even remember the name of that debunked science, the idea that certain cranial measures are definition of intelligence or submissiveness. None of that stuff works, makes sense, but it's definitely persuasive to a certain subset who do keep trying to perpetuate it. But by trying to link people who are just trying to navigate these everyday lives and issues with these abhorrent, and I do again mean that, there is no broaching or saying like, well, it's fine, I don't really care that much. No, it's awful. There is nothing that is good or reasonable from the way, particularly in the very many ways it comes up to, in the idea of white supremacy. It just reject it categorically, 100%. But those that are therefore dealing with topics on it, God, I hate to use Hitler examples, but the one that comes to mind at the moment, the idea that, Hitler was against smoking. Therefore, does that mean that anyone who doesn't like smoking is also signing on with white supremacy? It doesn't. It just does not bear out to say that anyone who even has a concept towards the idea has 100% signed up onto it here. And again, Edgar Ortiz, others saying, and part of it, that the border is not secure. Again, there are questions to be had about it. There is no reason in this day and age that there should be anyone able to cross our major international borders without it being known, being dealt with the person being able to have their background vetted, entering like in through an airport essentially, or essentially being denied the ability to do so. I still have issues with the idea of actual physical barriers, because we have technology. It is available in order to effectuate this without it requiring, major physical barriers, though I know that was a persuasive political point for many. Anyway, to say that all of this then ends up in becoming increasingly and entirely white supremacy, that frankly, I think it kind of trivializes the very concept itself of white supremacy. If everything is white supremacy, nothing is. And so to call all of these issues related and solely that's also a problem for me. So I think we're going to go ahead and take that next break right now. And coming out of this break, we'll get to more of the calls in the line. Thank you for the point in the call for what it's worth as we get worked up on these issues. We got more calls in line, and we'll take more comments as well coming out of this break. Again, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
On your El Paso freeways, I-10 eastbound on-ramp to the Loop in the Lower Valley, there's an accident reported. Gateway West at Loma Land. El Paso police had a crash there. On Border Highway eastbound at South Yarborough, there's a disabled vehicle blocking the center lane. Joe Battle southbound after Vista del Sol at Eschenbrenner, an injury accident from earlier. And El Paso Drive at Alameda, an injury accident slowing traffic. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by News Nation. Chris Cuomo is back with a new show on a new network. Catch Cuomo weeknights on News Nation at 5 p.m. Mountain. To find News Nation on your television provider, go to newsnationnow.com/join us.
Beautiful, top quality, long-lasting dental implants as low as $19.95 at 1995implants.com. The El Paso Dental Office, where implants are affordable. Other places charge $3, $4, $5, up to $6,000 per tooth. Please do not pay that much. Please do come to 1995implants.com, where our price is much lower, as low as $1,995 per tooth, including the implant, abutment, and crown, which many other places charge extra for. Plus, at 1995implants.com, we also offer a free consultation, free standard x-rays, and very convenient payment options. Now's the time to get rid of your cracked teeth, missing teeth, or loose, old, wobbly dentures and get the beautiful new smile that you want at a very affordable price. 1995implants.com. For more information, see our website, 1995implants.com. That's 1995implants.com. Se habla español.
Embark on a journey of romance this season at Banana Republic Factory with 50% off everything. Discover elegant tailoring, timeless outerwear, fall fabrics, and beyond, starting at $24.99. Find your nearest store or shop online, only at Banana Republic Factory.
Is there a calculator that can't compute in your kitchen drawer? Recycle it at Staples. A shredder that won't shred under your bed? Or a collection of cables cluttering up your closet? Recycle them now at Staples. With Staples Free Tech Takeback, we'll recycle your old tech free. Plus, rewards members get $5 back in rewards. So if you have modems, mice, and mobile phones making a mess of your home, recycle them now at Staples. Limit 1 reward per month. Redeemable in-store only. Exclusions apply. Visit staples.com/recycling for details.
Embark on a journey of romance this season at Banana Republic Factory with 50% off everything. Discover elegant tailoring, timeless outerwear, fall fabrics, and beyond, starting at $24.99. Find your nearest store or shop online, only at Banana Republic Factory.
Teens in foster care will love you, even if you don't know the lingo.
Dad bod, noun. The result of the occasional donut, always washed down with confidence.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council. Visit adoptuskids.org.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I am your host, Andrew J. Polk, going in depth on a whole lot of subjects here today. But I guess that's kind of par for the course, not necessarily the in-depth part of it, but a lot of subjects, definitely, because Free For All Friday is what we are doing today, as we do each and every end of the week. Okay, maybe it's not always on Fridays, but usually at more or less this position of our otherwise live shows during the week. We may have some out-of-office time coming up. Nothing exactly on the schedule yet, but just preparing for y'all. We'll still, of course, keep this going, even if it doesn't actually end up being on Friday. But when we do it, when we have it, we love calling it Free For All Friday because, well, I find it invigorating. If you haven't noticed that I'm about the discussion here, welcome to the program. A lot of comments coming in, a lot of points being made, including RJ saying, Andrew argues with a 2-year-old with chocolate on his face and believes child will confess. News at 11. I would say no, but I would absolutely have that argument until I realize I'm talking with a 2-year-old. So I will take the points well as some of the other comments coming in, including Eric McNabb saying, I'm shielding extremists and bad people by not labeling them by what they are. Right-wing people do this all the time to protect Republicans. Let me just say this. If you ever notice that I don't really use labels on things, I'm not saying that, well, these people are bad. I call them bad people. No, I try to then deal with the individual issues and the idea because sure, it's really easy to label a swath of people that you would otherwise disagree with as, yeah, those are the bad people. Well, we don't debate with the bad people. I'm also generally opposed to things that stop debate, stop discussion. There are a few, of course, things that are not worthy of discussion or worthy of taking up the idea of two sides on, including the right of people to exist. Now, there's a whole lot of language that I don't use, but by just, applying labels and saying, and therefore we can dispense with this, kind of doesn't work and doesn't really, even though if there are other issues, including Louis Pinato saying, realize Andrew agrees with these tweets. I'm really hoping you weren't talking about the point when I say that I denounce white supremacy, because if that's the point you're saying, when I agree with people, otherwise, I need you to think about how that looks for you, my dude. But in any case, a lot more comments coming in here and other issues. Yeah. Anyway, let's a lot more comments, a lot more calls. Anyway, let's get back to the line here. The number to call again is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Frankie Macia on the line with us here right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
All right. Happy Friday. And, I love Fridays for the obvious reason, but it's also bittersweet. It's the end of the week, got the great weekend to go out and drink whiskey and beer and have lots of fun, but I got to wait all the way to Monday until you come back on. Now, I know you like to talk about local issues. Is that right?
Yeah, I would absolutely say so.
Okay. Now, is Uvalde somewhat local? Is that somewhat local, Uvalde, Texas?
Yeah, I mean, not strictly speaking. I mean, when I usually say local, it's also kind of shorthand for our broadcast area. So don't believe it technically reaches out that way. But in terms of state level issues and the response we've been seeing, I would say it does count in that vein.
All right. Now, I ask you, Andrew, I ask you, all 250,000 plus people that listen to you, what kind of morons in their governmental arrangement hires this useless, failed, fired trooper as a school resource officer? Now, ultimately they fired her, but who was the bonehead that hired her in the first place? What is the matter with these people out there? That's my first question.
I think you're referring to at least some of the stories coming out about a whole lot of layoffs happening, or firings, to be more accurate, within the officers responding to or the remains of that department in Uvalde.
Well, yes, but supposedly some Texas trooper person, some gal who failed miserably, got fired or resigned or whatever, and then the school district hires her as a resource officer. What kind of insanity is this? What is it? That's like hiring the captain of the Titanic, assuming he survived, to become the captain of a tugboat, for crying out loud. What is this nonsense?
I think I get you're talking about the situation here, and then to correct myself slightly from the article from our news partners over there at KFOX 14, the entire Uvalde School District Police Department has been suspended. So choosing the correct phrase there, suspended. I think really the issue you're getting at there is about the documentation that comes with officers and previous places of employment. This has come up in, I think, Texas legislative sessions previously, and I'm aware of it nationally as well, that essentially you're ending up with, okay, I'm not going to make other comparisons, I could, but that the record doesn't necessarily follow them, that a officer that otherwise has marks on them, there's not like a, we'll use school terms, a permanent record, so to speak. It's all department by department. And so if they had something happen at a certain department and that department doesn't choose to share it or put it out specifically, which is not like they choose not to, it's they would have to make an extra effort to put out that details. It may not be known when they end up going somewhere else.
Well, you're right. You know what? There needs to be a national database of these failure law enforcement types that just fall flat on their face. They should not even have that job. There should be a national database that once they get fired, they don't get hired. I don't care wherever they are. They are out of the business of law enforcement. That's what I want to say. And also, by the way, Befuddled Ben, what Rex said. What do you think of that? Have a good weekend.
Sure thing. Thanks for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
All right.
All right, have a good one there. And just to that point here, I mean, I know that there are certain like state by state things that go with this. Like it would make sense to have something on, say, an officer's TCOL certification, Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, or those kind of things. Whether or not that can actually be done interstate would probably take major legislation to make that happen. Again, I've heard of efforts along those lines, but nothing really being followed through. Anyway, let's get to at least one more call on the line before we take that next break. We do have John over in Central on the line with us right now. John, thanks for joining us.
Hello, Andrew.
Hello there. What's on your mind?
Wow. Such frightening topics you have this Friday. Wow. I feel like just climbing into bed and pulling the covers over myself and not going out for the weekend. A bomb might fall on my house, or I'll go to the mall and I'm going to get shot at, or possibly tomorrow morning I go to the gas station and there's going to be $7 a gallon to fill up my pickup.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I wasn't going to bring this topic. Well, I have my regular Friday poem, if you will allow me to do it.
Sure thing. Go for it.
Okay. But, this thing about what our president did today about the, I think he announced a pardon for convicted federal felons or misdemeanors, whatever. I haven't researched that part. I can tell you by personal experience about, I've never smoked marijuana, neither have anybody in my family. But I had friends back in 1971, 72, 3 or so, that did take up that, I guess you would call it a habit.
Yeah.
Many of them are not with us anymore, either because they had health problems, usually lung problems, or psychological problems. They couldn't hold a job or function in society. That's what I've seen. So I hope that this works out okay for the nation when all these pardons are done. Okay. Well, I'll let you go ahead and tell me if I'm wrong about that.
The way I guess I see about it is this, that, I mean, there's been a whole lot of opinion pieces. I mean, search up just Biden pardon and marijuana or pot, and the half dozen articles either way come up immediately. And I think that the idea of this, yes, being a symbolic move, but not really a substantive one, does kind of bear out. But to your larger question about essentially the impact of marijuana, I mean, I know there's the talking points out there about this being a non-habit forming drug. You can't get addicted. And yet from personal experience I've seen in my own life, again, not a user, but I've known more than a few people in friends and loved ones and in their lives kind of thing, that it has serious impacts. I mean, as much as the comparisons come down to between like marijuana and like cigarettes and alcohol, and yeah, they're all bad in their own ways, that does not mean that one therefore is inherently better, just bad in a different way. And the bad in these kind of ways has definitely affected people very close to me. And I'm not even talking about any kind of violent action or any kind of otherwise crime being committed, but just impacts on their lives, people not being around, not being available. I do recall specifically one young woman who I came up in school with, who was top of the class, grade A student, and very clear started making some choices about in high school, and the complete personality change that came along with it has been a cautionary tale for me in my own life. I'm not trying to apply that as logic, therefore, for everyone, but that's just something I've seen in my own life along with this, which is why, if there is a good that could come out of this, I mean, yeah, there's going to be a political football going on with this, so I'm not sure if this specific effort, the pardons, are going to do that. But if there were to be aligning that, or something that could be achieved that would be good to come out of, whether it be legalization, whether it be decriminalization, whether it be some kind of change in policy. Still not sure if I'm totally on board with full legalization, but does seem to be a trajectory we're on. If it ends up being dealt with on the treatment level, because currently, yeah, most of it is throw them in jail, and maybe there will be some kind of treatment program, rehab, what have you, within the prison environment, but it's not exactly geared towards that. Because really, when it comes down to it, the heavy users of any kind of currently illicit or even many legal substances need mental health treatment, because that's what it comes down to. Addiction is a mental health disorder. And so if that could come out of it and deal with those, I know there's also things about, marijuana being more potent than it was back in the day. And a lot of that is also borne out, which leads me to believe that if that were to be the focus on any effort, I'd be more in favor of than not if that was a core part of it. And if it's lacking that, I'm not going to find myself as in favor of it, because then, particularly with a lot of legalization, there have been certain states that were just pretty blatantly cash grabs by certain organizations, individuals, or corporations. And if that's the guiding concept behind this effort, legalization at any level, yeah, I'm not going to be on board with that.
Okay, very good. Let me go ahead, and I hope I don't offend any of your listeners, but it's a clean poem. Okay, ready?
Sure thing.
Okay, I entitled this one, The Adventures of O'Rourke. Let me tell you of a boy named O'Rourke. He wished to be cool, but was known as a dork. He thought of himself hot. For fun, he smoked pot. He envisioned himself to be the one in the governor's house. Unfortunately, without smoking his pot, he felt like a mouse. So he packed up his pot, and on his skateboard, he traveled the state. With his mind in a haze, he viewed himself in the race. One October evening, in his hometown, where he was known as a clown, he held a rally to talk to his peers. He was greeted with cheers when he announced, "I am still in the game and will gain fame when I say, there is no shame to smoke Mary Jane." Okay, thank you. Everybody enjoy your weekend.
Sure thing. Thank you for the point of the call. You have a good one there, too. All right, we've got to take that next break now. Get on track and make sure I don't miss an entire segment this hour. In any case, we'll keep taking those calls, those comments, everything we do. Free for All Friday is what we are doing, and we'll keep doing through the rest of this hour as much as we can squeeze in. So, again, that number, if you want to get on the line, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
With your CBS 4 News Update, I'm Amanda Guillen. A local lawyer is making bombshell allegations against El Paso's already embattled District Attorney Ivan Rosales. A legal advisor to the DA is accused of faking an email from the family of the Walmart mass murder victims to try and help their own cause. This all has to do with the family of Alexander Hoffman, who was killed in the shooting. The family is accused of violating a gag order by sending an email about the case to local media. But the family's attorney says that email was sent by someone connected to the district attorney's office. Justin Underwood says the DA's office sent the email to cause a distraction and buy themselves more time to prepare for a recusal hearing to have Judge Sam Medrano taken off the case. District Attorney Ivan Rosales says Medrano is biased against her. The recusal request was denied, and now Underwood is sharing transcripts of the family's interactions with the DA's legal advisor, who they say offered them special favors and later implied threats to get them to cooperate. Now we have the court documents that detail these allegations and the transcripts with the family on CBS4Local.com.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
El Paso fires on scene of an accident Gateway West at Loma Land. A multi-vehicle accident from earlier has got the turnaround lane closed on Gateway North at Sun Valley Drive. A stalled vehicle in the center lane, Border Highway eastbound at Yarborough. Police responding to an accident eastbound Artcraft at Desert Boulevard. And El Paso police at scene of a crash, Edgemere eastbound at Zaragoza. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the CBS 4 Warm Weather Center, I'm forecaster Vanya Castillo. We are in for another rainy day here in the borderland. We are looking at a 40% chance for rain here in El Paso, 70% chance in Las Cruces. We're also looking at a high of about 73 degrees in El Paso, 71 in Las Cruces. We are going to continue to be seeing these cooler temperatures sticking around throughout the weekend, as well as that rain. Of course, we are going to be keeping a track on that. We're expecting to see that rain returning in the afternoon hours.
This report is sponsored by News Nation. Chris Cuomo is back with a new show on a new network. Catch Cuomo weeknights on News Nation at 5 p.m. Mountain. To find News Nation on your television provider, go to newsnationnow.com/join us.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Northbrook Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills? Well, we now have a major medical breakthrough you are going to want to hear about. The wave technology at Northbrook Medical uses gentle pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. There are 60 clinical studies, including from Cambridge, showing our technology treats the root cause problem of ED without any pills. If you're ready to put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and regain your love life, grab your phone and call us now. You'll qualify for the assessment, the exam, even the blood flow ultrasound, if you can believe it, totally free. And to the first 10 callers now, you'll get a gift that can produce powerful and rapid results in the bedroom. You're going to love that, trust me, guys. This is a $650 value free to callers now. 915-529-9000. That's 915-529-9000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your love life back. Call Northbrook Medical Clinic now to qualify. 915-529-9000.
Any first responder will tell you never try to beat a train. After braking, it can take a mile for a train to completely stop. A mile. That's also how far a car can be dragged when a train hits it. So when you come to a rail crossing, stop. Because trains can't. Paid for by NHTSA.
Chris Cuomo is back with a new show on a new network. Catch Cuomo weeknights on News Nation at 5 p.m. Mountain. To find News Nation on your television provider, go to newsnationnow.com/join us. This report is sponsored by News Nation.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the very many social media pages we're up on these days. We do that because there's a lot of ways that people can get at us, get the points made here, including a lot of people chiming in. RJ, Ion Grimm, Eric McNabb, Louis Pinato, Calvin Williams. You know, I was thinking about that the other day. Calvin Williams, of course, a previous commentator on the show, we want to put an APB because it seemed like he'd been gone for a minute, and people don't want to listen to the show. That's entirely their prerogative. But given propensities and how people tend to, stick around if they can handle it, well, you're more than welcome to. So glad to know you're back safe in town there. Other commenters, James Ratcliffe, James Holmes, Robbie Flores, dropping those likes and reacts, because if I was spending all the time trying to go through all of the comments that we've had on the show here, it'll take the rest of the show. So dropping those likes and reacts again. Flacco Jimenez, Calvin Williams, Eric McNabb, James Holmes, Richard Janasik, Carlos Sierra, Tim Collins, Ion Grimm, Edmundo Carlos, Ted Kors, Monica Servan, Sean Gardner, and Ida Beza Gardner. Just helps with those algorithmic things. So we do appreciate it. Not by any means required, but you have to like what we're talking about to do it. But if you like the ability to have the discussion about the things that affect us here in the borderland, and of course on Fridays beyond, drop that for us if you choose so. Anyway, a lot more comments and calls, so let's dive back into those. We do have Eddie in the Northeast on the line with us here right now. Eddie, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thank you for taking my call, Andrew.
Yeah, sure thing. What's on your mind?
Well, I wanted to make a couple of comments. First of all, I really loved the poem about Beto O'Rourke. I've had opportunities here in town to be in social settings with Beto, and let me tell you something. Anybody that sees him as Kennedy-ish or that is someone who is a leader, I have to question their outlook on anything, because he is a complete idiot. And your caller that comes in once in a while that is 80-some years old, that talks like this and is always telling everybody what's got to be going on in life. Let me tell you something. That guy, look, he's talking about people that are unabashed, that put their ideology out there. Well, you know what? Let me tell you something. That guy here in El Paso, Texas, is one of the biggest moronic figures I have ever heard on your show. So take that and put it in your pipe and smoke it. And have a great weekend. That's all I got to say. And thank you, Andrew.
Sure thing. Thank you for the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Right on.
I appreciate it. As long as people call sincerely with their own thoughts and opinions, I don't got an issue with it. Boy, let's get back to those phone lines again, squeezing it when we can before the end of the program. Do have Marco over in Central with us right now. Marco, thanks for joining us.
How's it going, Andrew?
Doing all right there. What's on your mind?
Yeah, it seems like you're a racist. That's it. You guys know, just quit your show and go repent forever. I mean, that's like the lowest common denominator of just like, I've lost the argument, so let me just call you a racist because it's the easiest thing to do. Quite frankly, anybody who engages in that kind of just like, here, you know what, you're a racist. I've obviously have no point to say. Right-wingers are pieces of garbage. It's like, can you give me something more substantive than just calling people a racist? Because, you know, people do care about the border. It doesn't necessarily make them racist. Am I a racist because I'm a Yaqui American Indian? I'm a Wayama. I mean, should I hate my own people because they enslaved my own people, right? Like the Mexican government enslaved a bunch of Yaqui Indians, send them to Zacatecas and Oaxaca to go mine sugarcane. Should I be like, oh my God, I hate the Mexican people for what they did? And it's absurd. The whole idea of racism, the way the left uses it, is a cudgel, is a blunt weapon, just to make you shut up because you're effective. That's what they hate. You're effective, and they just want you to shut your mouth because the more you speak, the more effective you are because you're breaking through the barriers between left and right. I try not to. I know I can go off the hinge with the left because sometimes they deserve it, but I do want to say this. Not every person that's on either side of the spectrum is extreme because we all live in the same country. We all have the same problems, whether you're rich, you're poor. I mean, again, like the other day we talked about nuclear war. What's it really matter if you're rich or you're poor if you're about to get vaporized? What's it really matter if you're, look at all these people that are uber rich, right? What would happen if the stock market was at, I don't know, 1,500, 15,000, not 30,000? You know, you'd have a lot more poor people in America. And so I just hate this whole idea of like, I don't like the way the argument's going, so I'm going to just call you a bigot. Maybe we should just try to rethink the way the arguments are going. And if we can't succeed in our argument, it's probably because we've lost the argument. And anyways, besides that, I want to wish everybody in El Paso a great weekend. Drive safe out there. Look out for motorcyclists. And please, 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 people, drive safe. I don't know why people have to drive over 70 miles an hour in El Paso when it's raining. I mean, are you people here in the city? Sometimes I feel that they're looking for like a death wish. And one last thing, let's go, Brandon. Thanks a lot.
Well, I appreciate the point in the call. You have a good one there.
Thank you, brother.
I mean, let me just say it this way, that I have no problem calling out racism, white supremacy, those things when it is evidently present, but just to say that and therefore shut it down, I don't find useful. Because even if I'm calling it out, I'm going to explain specifically what the issues I have with it are. Because if there were to come out a policy that we're dealing with, particularly anything locally, what we deal with during the week, that ends up being biased based on racial characteristics or any of those immutable characteristics that have really no impact on the worth, the value, the impact, the experience of a person, yeah, I'm going to have an issue with that. But whenever it's used, again, I'm usually opposed to just about anything that stops discussion and says that, no, you're not allowed to talk about that. That usually makes me want to talk about it more just because I'm an ornery son of a gun that does that kind of thing. But also the fact of not just labeling things and shutting it down is not useful in my mind. I think part of the reason we've gotten into some of the problems we are by not by saying that something is, well, we have to allow everything to be talked about all the time. No, that doesn't work either. But by saying that, well, we have banished this, it has no place in public discourse, doesn't mean it's no longer talked about. It just means that you've banished it from what you see and it begins to fester in weird usual corners of the internet these days, or in dark, otherwise hushed rooms, and is therefore you haven't actually dealt with the core issue. That's the way I see it, and why, yeah, I'll talk about it and I will call it as I see it, which usually ends up being in those kind of ways. Yeah. James Radcliffe asking, why should I look out for motorcyclists going 100 miles per hour? So I mean that in two ways. A, make sure you're not merging into a motorcycle, because usually they have a smaller vehicle signature, but also it would behoove you to look out for anyone going 100 miles per hour for your own safety. It's also called defensive driving. So take that both ways if you need to. Think about it that way. Anyway, a lot more comments coming in on some of these particular issues. Ida Beza Gardner lauding my patience. I appreciate that. Sometimes I have it, sometimes I don't. But let's get to at least one more call before we hit that next break now. We do have a call on the line here. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
This is Sean over on the west side.
Hey there, Sean. What's on your mind?
Yeah, kind of to the point of the same as like the last caller. You know, if somebody's going to sit there and be referring to somebody else by nothing more than the color of their skin, then they might want to look in the mirror, because, you know, at the point where everything is, open borders means that white people don't want brown people. Well, you know, that's pretty ridiculous. I mean, that's straight up racism right there. Go look in the mirror, because that dude needs to go look in the mirror because he's looking at a racist. And if he doesn't like that, he needs to understand that's exactly what he just did. Because he sat there, kept saying, all these right-wingers that are just don't want open borders, they want closed borders, they're all white supremacists. Really? How about this? Other than for safe passage to cross Mexico, Mexico does not want their southern border opened, so therefore they don't want anybody from Central and South America coming across. Okay, let's see. Does that mean that Mexico and Mexicans are white supremacists because they don't want brown people from further south coming into their country? You know, it's just idiocy on that guy's part. Absolute idiocy, because he's not grasping what he's doing at all. You know, I want closed borders because the fact of the matter comes down to, if you got open borders, you no longer have a sovereign country. Now, the freedoms that he has to get on your show and make stupid comments like that are given to him because we have a border that is supposed to be secure and we have rights. At the point where those borders become open and everything's flooding in and votes start going a different way, you have people that do not have our country in their best interest trying to vote to change the rules to be able to squelch people like you, like him, and then he can't make his comments like that. And where is he going to stand then? Then he's going to be in deep trouble, and then he's going to realize, maybe I did something wrong. But that's too late at that point. So the fact of the matter is, I'd like to have closed borders for the security of my nation, for the security of my fellow citizens, for the security for him to be able to make his stupid comments. Because the fact is, I don't care if they're white, brown, black, whatever color you want, green, I don't care. I don't want them coming across the border illegally. And what he needs to understand is that people that want closed border aren't anti-immigration, they're anti-illegal immigration. There's a huge difference, and that word right there means the world, everything. So if he's going to sit there and keep popping off comments like that, I don't remember what his name was, but dude, go look in the mirror, because if you sit there and judge people on, you know what, they want an open border, they're a white supremacist, and they don't want brown people are bad, those aren't my words, those are his words. Because I can tell you right now, I've got, you name it, across the spectrum when it comes to different ethnicities, races, colors, creeds, whatever you want to call it, as part of my family and part of my workforce. And I've never, not once, ever in my life referred to them by whatever it is their minority trait is. And as far as his comments, you know, look around. If he wants to sit there and say white supremacists are running El Paso, that's a minority here. Whites don't have any kind of power in this city at all. So, that's all on him. He might want to go have a look in the mirror because, like I said, it has nothing to do with any kind of race. It has to do with legal or illegal. It has nothing to do with somebody's religious belief. It has to do with legal or illegal. And you made a great point earlier about Hitler, because here's the thing. You want to tie that back up like that? Hitler was a Catholic. So does that make every Catholic a Nazi? No, of course not. So anyway, sorry, I got a little wound up on that one, and it just kind of he struck a chord because I've really, really fought against all that kind of misinformation that he just spewed out. That kind of garbage. That is just horrible. And he needs to understand that he is a problem if that's how he thinks, not white people. So anyway, have a very happy birthday, Andrew, and sorry I got wound up.
No, that's kind of what we do here Friday, so I appreciate it in due course, and thanks for the well wishes. You have a good one there as well.
All right, bye.
All right, have a great weekend there. So we got to take that last break right now. Coming out of this break, probably have enough just time to tell you what we got coming up for you on the El Paso History Radio Show, so stay tuned. We'll talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Big delays on the I-10 westbound after a crash at the Mesa Street exit. I-10 westbound is slow from Sunland Park up to Artcraft with 15-minute delays, all stop-and-go traffic. An accident's blocking the right lane on Border Highway eastbound at Padres. A crash reported Gateway West at Geronimo. And an accident reported on the I-10 eastbound on-ramp to Loop 375 in the Lower Valley. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by News Nation. Chris Cuomo is back with a new show on a new network. Catch Cuomo weeknights on News Nation at 5 p.m. Mountain. To find News Nation on your television provider, go to newsnationnow.com/join us.
Hello?
Mike, this is Norma Jean at Sergio Lewis Body Shop near the airport. Have you seen Sergio?
I'm expecting him in a few minutes to cut a new commercial.
I'm really worried about him, Mike. He really believes he's a poet. It's gone to his head.
There's plenty of room up there. Anyways, his poetry isn't that bad.
Will you please have him call the shop?
Sure, Norma.
That's Norma Jean, Mike. Gotta go.
Eee, she's feisty. Hey, Sergio, there you are.
Hey, Mike, I have this great new poem. Check this out, man. Sometimes even our darkest moments are enlightening. Hey, what's so funny, man?
Nothing, Sergio, really. By the way, Norma Jean called.
Really? What did she want?
Oh, she was just telling me what a big fan she is of your poetry, Sergio. Sergio Lewis Body Shop at 3800 Admiral near the airport, where it's the customer's choice, not the insurance company's, and there's a lifetime warranty on all collision repair. 593-0191.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for having joined us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk. We've covered a lot of ground here today. And, of course, we'll keep doing so as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. We are super out of time here for this show. So I think we got one more quick call that we can get to here. We do have Amber on the line. Amber.
Hey, Andrew. I just have one very important message for you and for all your listeners to hear. And I just wanted to say happy birthday from your favorite coworker.
All right. Well, thank you very much for that. I do appreciate it. You have a good one there, too.
You too. Bye.
All right, bye-bye. Talk to you soon here. And, of course, we got a lot more that we'll be getting to in the rest of the program here and the rest of, shows as we do them. So, for those who want to tune in for the question came up about the El Paso History Radio Show, airing this Saturday, 10 to noon here on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'll be talking about the haunted campus tours of UTEP, some of the history involved with it, and, of course, the urban legends, but also the, frankly, oral history project along with it. But that's going to do it for us today. So I want to thank everyone that did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. We are out of time for today, but we will be back Again, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. And, of course, tune into the El Paso History Radio Show, as I mentioned. Appreciate the birthday wishes, y'all. We're also coming up on the 2-year anniversary of us being daily on this program, but more on that. Stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road. Have a great weekend, y'all. We'll see you next week.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Big delays on the I-10 westbound after a crash at the Mesa Street exit. I-10 westbound is slow from Sunland Park up to Artcraft with 15-minute delays, all stop-and-go traffic. An accident's blocking the right lane on Border Highway eastbound at Padres. A crash reported Gateway West at Geronimo. And an accident reported on the I-10 eastbound on-ramp to Loop 375 in the Lower Valley. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
If you qualify for Medicare and Medicaid, El Paso Health Plus is for you. We offer great supplemental benefits for those with Medicare and Medicaid. El Paso Health Plus. Call 833-742-3125
News
or visit
on the hour and a half.
pphmedicare.com.
Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The number of people re-entering the workforce is the fastest in any modern economic recovery, so says President Biden. While at a Volvo plant in Maryland, he touted low unemployment as the economy recovers from a rough summer.
I've been saying that what we need to do in this transition, we have to move from historically strong economic recovery to a more steady, stable recovery.
On Republicans claiming that good news for the economy doesn't necessarily mean good for Americans, he ripped their trickle-down mentality. A war of words is escalating between New York City and the governor of Texas over migrant busing. Governor Greg Abbott called New York City Mayor Eric Adams an absolute hypocrite for claiming an emergency for a sanctuary city with a population of over 8 million. In response, New York City Hall said Abbott's lying about his role in sending migrants to New York, while adding he's untrustworthy. Actor Kevin Spacey is back in court for day 2 of his civil trial on sex abuse charges. His accuser, actor Anthony Rapp, took the stand and fought back tears as he described Spacey's alleged assault at a Manhattan party in 1986. Rapp was just 14 years old at the time, while Spacey was 26. Southern California residents can expect new water restrictions next year. Matt Mattinson has more.
The Los Angeles Times reports the area's Metropolitan Water District will impose mandatory conservation measures around that time. It comes as Colorado River levels keep going down, and some agencies are planning to cut back on how much water is taken from there. The rules will impact around 19 million residents across 6 counties. On Wednesday, 4 water districts sent a letter to the federal government proposing to reduce Colorado River usage by around 9% by 2026.
You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. A North Carolina man is pleading guilty in connection to the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Mitch Evans reports.
Jeremy Bertino admitted to plotting with other members of the far-right Proud Boys to violently stop the transfer of presidential power after the 2020 election. That made him the first member of the extremist group to plead guilty to a seditious conspiracy charge. The 43-year-old Bertino has also agreed to cooperate with the Justice Department